Welcome to the Tuck Shop Podcast. I'm Matt Cernell, recording here on a slightly overcast day, looking out the window from the campus perch that I occupy from occasion. And as always, David Janicek, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Matthew.
We survived Winterfest and had fun doing that.
No one got singed. No one got frozen. People had a lot of good times. And it was nice because, we talked about it prior to Winterfest, and then last week's podcast was proof of that. It was really cool to see a lot of alumni come back and just shoot the breeze. And every one of those conversations, and it was even evident last week, you could see the connection of what UPJ meant to people that came back and how it changed, how it made a difference in their life. So it was really neat. We're gearing up to do it again next year. I know, I think the Baja Club is already collecting wood.
Great.
For the bonfire. Those guys were.
They were very dedicated to seeing something on fire in a epic way.
If you were there at the bonfire, I just want to say, it was built by engineers, and for the most part, it collapsed upon itself as it burnt. I mean, it was really pretty impressive. It wasn't?
It was quite a sight to see, considering it.
Thanks for everyone that came out.
Yeah.
And look forward to next year again.
Anything going on the alumni may find interesting?
A couple of things going on. One thing I'm going to kind of do it chronologically real quick. Speaking of winter sports and cold weather, Pitt Johnstown alumni and the Tomahawks. February 17th. The alumni won't be playing the Tomahawks. We'll just be there for the game.
We would not fare well.
7 o'clock game at the famed Cambria County War Memorial. We've got a section set up. You can buy tickets. And I'm going to give the website, their website is awful long. So as always, you can go to our LinkedIn page or our Facebook page and click on the link there. So
and the link will be in the description of this podcast as well.
Perfect. I'm going to just go through it real quick. So it's fevo-enterprise.com/event/UPJ Alumni Hawks. So that's a lot to remember. But there's also a QR code in those links. So click on that. Come on down. I know that it's going to be a good time. There is some rumor that we're all going to get together at some establishment after the game. Yet to be determined. But
I leave that to you. And
our chairperson's working on that. The other thing that's coming up, I do want to mention, I know we've been working on this. We've been celebrating 50 years of excellence in all of our programs. And I know we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the respiratory therapy program. But the next one on tap is the Engineering Computer Science Reunion. We're planning a week-long celebration during Engineering Week. If anybody was in engineering, you know how big that is around here. It's going to start on March 23rd. March 23rd, it's a Saturday. We're going to do a family picnic with activities. We're working on a Distinguished Speaker Series, which will be on that Tuesday. Watch for details with that. And then a dinner on Thursday, March 28th. Again, we're working on that. The link is not quite ready to be for public consumption. But as soon as that gets up and ready to go, watch our Facebook page. We will also send out invitations to anyone that's graduated over the last 50 years in engineering and or computer science. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach me at 814-269-2081. And one thing I'm going to mention but not talk a lot about, we are working diligently on our all-Greek reunion, which is going to be May 31st to June 1st, 3-dayer. Stay on campus. We're hoping that link is going to drop within the next several days, if not by the end of the day. So if you are a Greek, we want to try to get you all back here on campus for just an old-fashioned weekend of fun.
And in between engineering and the alumni reunion, someplace in there, potentially directly in front of the Greek reunion, will also be the alumni golf tournament.
The alumni golf tournament, yeah.
But we'll get more details
Yeah,
as
I'm
that
not
comes
privy
together.
to drop those.
I haven't told you everything about it yet,
so
David.
I'm not privy to all those details yet. But yeah, it's going to be a good time.
As soon as we come up with them, we'll let you know.
All right. You'll hear it here first, I'm sure.
Great.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, David, as always. Well, we're very, very glad and very, very excited to have Stacey Hufman and Tara Penrod from It's now, I always think of it as respiratory care, but it's not. It's allied health and respiratory care here on campus. Let's start with that as a concept. What, for those who don't know, what is that?
Basically, that means that we manage both the surgical tech program as well as the respiratory therapy program. They're both in the same department. We don't have any other, at this time, allied health programs that are joined in with that. So it's just the two, surgical tech and respiratory therapy. They're both 2-year programs with the ability to take your bachelor's degree as well. So it's kind of a 2+2 program.
And by the way, Tara, they're the only 2-year programs on campus.
That is correct, yes.
You have, Stacey, some experience because you're not just part of this program. You have been through it.
I have. 1989, I graduated with my associate's degree in respiratory care. Back in the day, we used to have big classes, 20, some students. We whittled them down to maybe 12 or 14 students by graduation. And then I went back to school in 2009 here at Pitt Johnstown for my bachelor's degree in healthcare management and education, and graduated in 2014 with a BS.
What made you come here originally as a student?
I lived locally in Johnstown, and long story short, one of the instructors that taught respiratory care was a good friend of my cousin, and we got to talking about the program. I volunteered in the local hospitals at a very young age, at age 14, and tried out several different departments. And after talking with my cousin's friend, who was an instructor, and volunteering in the respiratory care department at the local hospital, I found it to be something that I wanted to do. So I knew at age 16 that I wanted to be a respiratory therapist.
And you decided then not only just to do that, but also then come back here and continue
I
being
did.
on the Pitt side of the UPJ side of things.
So I was working my last job for 16 years at UPMC Altoona in Altoona, PA, and I had a position that was in a specialty diagnostic field called pulmonary functions. And they didn't require me to have my bachelor's degree, but I felt that I needed that higher degree just for myself. And also I then sat for the certification, the board certification in pulmonary functions. So I was board certified in pulmonary functions on top of my registry. So so that's why I come back, and I sat in a classroom for every single class, took one at a time, and paid for it as I went. So that's why it took me so long. It took me 5 years, but I was working full-time in the hospital Monday through Friday. So I just would take one class at a term and
There's
got
those
it
of us
done.
at the table who took
Yeah.
5 years and weren't working a full-time job.
Right. So I did finish. Graduate with my BS in 2014. So it was something I wanted to do and complete. And I wanted to come back here because it was familiar to me. In fact, when I came back in 2009, I came back to the same exact classroom 20 years later and the same instructor. I couldn't believe it. It felt like old home week. Like I was happy. It was familiar to me, and then the rest is history. So.
Tara, what was your story coming to campus?
Well, I am not a local Johnstown. I was a transplant. I moved here 12 years ago because I met my husband, and I moved here where he's from. I've been here for a while working at the local hospitals, and I was in the process of getting my bachelor's degree, and I knew I wanted to kind of extend a little bit further than bedside care. I had been doing it for 18 years and was just kind of looking for something else. And one of the former instructors that taught here also worked where I was working, and she told me that there was potentially a position opening up, and it literally just fell in my lap. I was just going to be an adjunct instructor, and 2 months later I became the program director. So didn't really have time to think about it or process it at all, but it literally fell in my lap, and I've been here for a year now, and I absolutely love what I'm doing. I love being the instructor for our first year students. I love being the program director for both allied health and respiratory. And I can't imagine doing anything else right now.
Talk about your students a little bit. What kind of student would you expect to see if we took a walk through and talk to them? What are they looking to do? What motivated them to come both here and to the program? Did they come in knowing, or is it something that you were recruited from the general population?
A lot of it's recruitment. Some of them come from nursing. For whatever reason, they didn't feel nursing was a fit, but they wanted healthcare related. And a lot don't know what we do as far as respiratory goes, or even the surgical tech. So they'll come talk to us. We'll give them all the information for both degrees, and then they make their determination from there. Our students are pretty diverse. A lot of them came from already having maybe some experience from their VOTAC health occupation, or they have a family member that's in the medical field, or maybe another respiratory therapist or something. But we have a pretty diverse, all age ranges. We don't just have fresh graduates from high school. We do have some alternative learning students as well. And it's a great mix. They come from all different backgrounds, and they really play off of one another with their strengths and their weaknesses. And then through the first year, we really kind of, I don't want to say mold them, but get them prepared professionally. So by the time Stacey takes over in the second year, they're pretty fine-tuned. They're ready to go. They're ready to hit clinicals. And we have our first graduating class coming out now, our first full graduating class that we had from point A to point B. And they have done amazingly well. I am so proud of them. They came through at the beginning where there was some changes going on with like the program director leaving and everything. So it was stressful for them, but then 18 months later, and they are just amazing. The ability that they have to retain the information now, and their skills are so much stronger than they were from the very beginning. I'm so happy for them. They're going to be great therapists once they graduate.
What is the program like from the standpoint? So I come in, David needs a career change. He gets tired of dealing with the alumni and says, I'm going to come over, sit down, and said, I'm making a career change. Signs up today. Mm-hmm. What's that 2 years look like?
So it's very structured. It's very fast-paced. You basically don't have any breaks at all. You go from one semester to the other, except for some, summer semesters, 8 weeks, and then you have about 2 months off and you go into the fall. So in the fall, you start a class called Intro to Healthcare Concepts. It's just to get your feet wet. I call it the Make It or Break It class. That way, that will determine who actually gets into the program or not. And then in the spring, we start our program. They take 4 respiratory courses that are very difficult: pathology, physiology, selected topics, and pharmacology, in addition to some general education courses. Are you interested yet, David? You ready to make the change? Yeah? Okay.
My breathing.
And then in the summer is when they transition into starting clinicals. They learn a little bit more advanced techniques and more, like, the spring semester is your foundational information, what you need to know, what the lung diseases are, how they affect your body. And then summer, they get ready for clinicals. They do some hands-on stuff with the patients. And then the second fall and the second spring, those are harder skill sets that they are learning.
In the fall, they come to me then, and we get into the meat and potatoes of mechanical ventilation, airway, oxygen modalities, non-invasive therapy. And then in the spring, where we're at right now, the seniors are doing all their specialty rotations. So they're in neonatal, they're in pulmonary functions, they're in the sleep lab. Where else are they going? They're with leadership. So they go with leadership at all the hospitals here locally. They spend a day with them. So clinically wise, we do utilize a lot of the UPMC facilities. Somerset, we have contracts with a master contract with UPMC. We've gone to UPMC Bedford, UPMC Altoona is current. UPMC East was recently added on for ICU and ER rotation. We utilize Conemaugh Hospital here in Johnstown for ICU and basic therapy, and also the RICN. And we also go to Select Specialty Hospital in Johnstown for their trach care and mechanical ventilation.
I guarantee I've known some of your students in my journey in the last year and a half being sick and transplant and everything through the UPMC. Because that's always what I'd ask I'm here as a student. Where are you from? Pitt, Johnstown. Like, I know that. I know that school. So, actually, I've talked about it before on the show how it was kind of like having that little slice of campus with me everywhere. And I guarantee it was your students.
Yeah, we're coming up on almost 50 years as a program.
Yeah, let's talk about the history a little bit of the program.
So our first graduating class was in 1977, and it was then a certificate program. And now, fast forward, it turned into a 2-year program shortly thereafter, and still going strong. We have a great reputation in the community, the state, and beyond. Some of our graduates work at Duke Hospital down in North Carolina. And where else, Tara?
They go from Pittsburgh. They go out to Philadelphia, Michigan.
We actually have students all around the United States. The local hospitals and beyond right now, it's a good time to get in respiratory therapy. They're offering big sign-on bonuses, anywhere between $10,000, $15,000 up to $30,000 to sign on for a 2-year contract or whatever it may be. The wages are good per hour.
Now
Yes.
David's ears perked up.
The wages are really good for 2 years of school. You can come out making a decent living and beyond. And also, there's deals to be made. Some of them are paying tuition assistance, so they'll pay for your school that you've already taken, or help you pay for them. They don't pay for it all, but they do give you some help with that. But the sign-on bonuses, I mean, back when I came out of school, that didn't exist. But since COVID, healthcare in general, they're having a hard time getting healthcare workers. Respiratory therapy was at the forefront of COVID. A lot of the therapists that were near ready to retire have retired. So they're looking for replacements now. We're looking for the new generation of RTs. So that's what we're here to do.
Certainly, I'm gonna not take much of a gamble and say the technology and the skill. I don't want to say skill set in the way that I'm sure there's something that has not changed, but technology has increased since.
Oh yes.
You were here as a student, and so forth. Talk about what has changed with campus. What has your impression been of that as things have when you think back?
There's a lot more buildings. I know that. In fact, when I graduated in '89 from the respiratory program, Blackington Hall wasn't here. The nursing department wasn't here. What else wasn't here back then?
Chemical engineering would have been here.
Yeah,
Willow Hall wouldn't have been here.
Right.
89 wouldn't have been the Living Learning Center yet.
Yeah. So.
Pascarella Center, wasn't in '89?
That's what I mean. It's like doubled in size. Definitely a beautiful campus. That's what, when we go on our marketing, recruitment, little tours, we tell them how beautiful the campus is. Reminds you, especially in the wintertime, of a ski resort. At least it reminds me of that.
The buildings all look like a
yes.
ski resort,
And
like Hidden Valley.
It being on a smaller size, everybody knows everybody and willing to help, and it's just a great small community campus. It's just awesome. A lot of things going on, a lot of things to get involved with, and again, just a beautiful campus.
When you think about that, can you imagine from the alumni perspective, actually, if you had gone back and could say back to that young student and say,
no, because
you're going to be here doing this?
No, I would have never imagined. It's come full circle. You know, I went to school here, and I said I paid the university. Now the university's paying me. So it's kind of come full circle as being director of clinical education for respiratory, and I'm also the assistant director here alongside Tara. So, yeah, it's exciting. I was ready for a change in my career. I had worked clinically for 33 years and a lot of experience in a lot of different specialty fields in respiratory care. So this has been like a 180 for me. I went from clinical to academic, and I love it. Just like Tara, passionate about it. The students are doing great that we have right now, and number one, we want them to get them to where they're going to graduate. Number two, we want them to pass their boards. They can't go out and work until they pass their boards and get registered. So that is our goal.
The department as a whole, how many people?
Well, it's Tara
Three
and
and a half.
I, and Tara
So
and
we've
I.
emptied out most of the department, what you're saying, for this interview.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Tara and I, and we have a part-time instructor that teaches in the classroom, and we have 4 clinical adjuncts out at the site. So we pay 4 therapists that work clinically, 2 at Select, and 2 we have at Conemaugh, and they're with the students when they're out in the field.
Where do you see the future of the department? As you kind of think of the next couple of years, what do you hope to see?
More growth.
More growth, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The current community is definitely hurting for respiratory therapists. There's a shortage. I mean, it's a nationwide shortage, but definitely in our community. So we're really hoping to grow our student base, get it larger, and potentially add in other allied health programs too.
What would I don't, if you don't want to dig too deep, but other allied health in the form of?
Radiology,
Okay.
histotechnology, those are all considered allied health programs. I know we used to do some of those years ago, so I wouldn't mind getting those back. So we have like a central location for all of those programs. But definitely growing our student base, getting our classes a lot larger than what they are. We're growing, we're getting there. Since COVID, everybody took a hit from COVID. All campuses, all fields took a hit from COVID, but we are slowly increasing our student base, and we're really getting our marketing efforts out there. So I do see within 5 years that we're going to be booming again.
I can certainly see the efforts, because you have that wing of that half of the Biddle Hall.
Yeah.
And I'm across the hall.
Okay.
For my business class, so it's kind of like you walk through there and it's oh, you guys are really doing a nice
Yes.
promotion there along that.
Yeah,
makes
we
you
were-
subconscious a little bit, David, about how you're feeling and stuff.
We were really tucked away in that corner. It was a dark hallway, and when I first came in, I was like, we need to do something. And the windows to the classroom were just so open that it was a distraction to myself for teaching, for the students, and people walking by looking in and stuff. And I was like, we need to promote our program a little bit more. We need to let people know we are here. So we created some decals to put on the windows. That's one of the first things that we did. And they really brought life to the hallway because they're vibrant and very clear. And then after that, we just installed a TV in the hallway too, that we have an ongoing picture presentation of different things going on with surgical tech and respiratory therapy. And I think we really are gaining a lot of traction. I feel like we're a bigger presence on the campus now. I think everybody knows that we are here, and we are not going anywhere.
Good. What is it like being that as you mentioned in your opening about the idea of being the only 2-year program? It is a unique thing amongst.
It is very unique. I mean, you can go to school. It's actually 5 terms. We call it 2 years, and you can come out with a rewarding career, a lifetime career, that making a really nice wage for a 2-year program,
In 2 years, you could be making as much money as somebody that went for a 4-year degree.
if not more. Yes, and I also wanted to talk about Respiratory Care Week.
Oh yes, please. That's on my list.
Yeah, we have nationally celebrate Respiratory Care Week. It's usually the 3rd week of October to recognize respiratory therapists in the country. And we celebrated it here on campus this past fall by every day. We had 2 guest speakers that week. Both were Pitt UPJ alumni. They came back and spoke to our students about whatever their specialty field was. It was related to healthcare. One's a respiratory therapist. And down in the student union on the first floor, we had two tables set up, and every day we were featuring different equipment that we use. We had the pig lungs working one day. We had non-invasive. We had blood gas arms. We also had neonatal information, smoking information, you name it. Every day we did something a little different. So.
And that's, you said every year you do
every
it in
year,
October.
every year, yes. It's national, and we celebrated it here on campus for the week at the Student Union. So that was exciting for the students. They all participated in it. They were down at the tables talking to other students. And again, the guest speakers, one worked for Massimo, which has pulse ox and end-tidal CO2. He came and spoke to them of that, and the other guy spoke of alpha-1, which is a genetic form of COPD. So very exciting stuff going on that week. So we hope to, this year continue with that.
I know we talked. I stepped out for someone to try to. Hopefully, I don't repeat anything. I know we talked about next year trying to get alumni more involved. One of the things I think you answered both my questions. So, economically, respiratory therapy. It seems to me that it's a career that's somewhat immune to the economic downturns. So I think that's one point that I found interesting. Also, I know you talked a little about alum, and we talked earlier in the week about just where some of our graduates, not only where they are, but some of the what am I looking? I don't want to say title, but some of the positions.
Yes,
they're in.
I can speak about that. Our local hospitals, Conemaugh and Select and Altoona, they all have alumni in leadership. We have directors, managers, supervisors. We've even had CEOs of hospitals that came from our program. The sky's the limit. I mean, they went to school here and they stayed local here. And, they have positions. They're very helpful to the program. A lot of them are on our advisory board. And so when they're on the advisory board, they help out with support of information, what they're looking for in the students as a respiratory therapist. And by them going to the clinical sites, the students are on interview, basically all the time, as soon as they step foot into the hospital. So the leadership there get to know our students very well. They know, their strengths and their weaknesses, and they're actually offering interviews right on site, and they're not even graduated yet. Yeah. So everywhere they go, everybody wants them. So, 100% job placement. We can't get enough students in to get them out to the community, to be honest with you. Yeah.
If somebody wants to learn more about the program, about entering the program, at least find more information, where can we send them?
Well, they can also, we're on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. It's Pitt Johnstown Respiratory Care Department, or Respiratory Care Program, sorry. And also you can get a hold of Tara or I. My email address is smh229@pitt.edu.
Mine is tmp95@pitt.edu. You can email me at any time. You could also go onto the AARC website. They have a tab that's called BNRT. And if you scroll through there, you could watch some videos of current RTs and what the profession means to them. And it'll go into depth on where we work, what we do, how we help people, kind of information on that side of it. But specifically to the program, shoot me an email and I'll definitely talk to you about it.
You can also visit the University of Pittsburgh Johnstown's website and go to Allied Health, and then from there search respiratory.
Yeah. We're under the Nursing and Health Sciences Division. So if you click on that tab, it'll break it down into surgical tech, respiratory, and nursing. Of course, you want to choose respiratory or surgical tech because we're cooler.
This will not be the first interview that results in a fight on this podcast. But that is fantastic to know, and that people can get that information. And of course, we would direct everyone to keep their information updated with the links that are in the description of the podcast anytime. If you're an alum of the program, to make sure that as notices come out and potential further engagement with alumni and stuff, that you're actually going to get those messages.
Yeah.
Thank you both for taking over about a half hour of your day out. And
Thank you so
talking to
much.
me.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us. We appreciate it.
David, as always, a pleasure.
It's always.
Until next week, folks, this has been the Tuck Shop Podcast. The Tuck Shop Podcast is recorded live on the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown campus. Update your contact information with us by visiting johnstown.pitt.edu/alumni. Connect with us online via Facebook and LinkedIn, or consider donating to the university at that's giveto.pitt.edu/giveupj.
This has been a production of Quantum Wave Media. Views expressed do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown.